right, so let's get into this.
Let's do it.
All right, people. So here's what we got: the life roast. It's simple. It's something that John and I set up a few months back, where we just started making fun of some of the things that go on in our lives that you just wonder why we keep doing it day to day, and why we wake up with the idea that certain things have to be done because people make sure that they give their judgment or influence on why we have to continue doing such stupid things. And here we are to discuss them. So really what we're going to do is call up a topic day by day. And as we record each one of these podcasts or sessions, we'll pick one topic. I'm sure we'll meander into multiple topics because we can't seem to stay on topic. But that's the idea. And really what we're looking is for folks like you that love to watch and see what's going on to add their own 2 cents in the comments and give us more ideas. Because really what our goal here is to just call it out, call out what we're living each day, and then figure out why we should live in a better way without worrying about the judgment and bullshit that goes on with society. So that's kind of our gig here. John, sound about right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And it's just, looking at life as a whole, right? And like you said, like from birth, basically, we have these stories and all this stuff that society and our families and all these people are trying to tell us, and everything, all these things that we got to do if we want to fit in and be the good, productive member of society. And a lot of it, as we go, we learn it's just all Santa Claus and Easter Bunny type stuff.
Yep.
It's who says, where's the book, where's the manual of life? Like who says, like why are things like this? And bringing that curiosity back to life, right? Like we get into this like mindset of not asking questions anymore.
Yep.
We talked about it before, like that 3-year-old mentality, like why? And we stopped doing that because that's just how it is. That's how it's been. That's just the way the world works and all this stuff. And it's just like most of the time, we found having all these discussions, we got a list of all these topics already, right? We got like 15, 20 topics that we've already found.
Oh yeah.
And, a lot of them, it's just you start looking at them and you just realize how silly a lot of them are, because there's no manual that says this is how it's got to be. And we know that because we've seen so many different paths taken from so many different people who figure out all these different things that aren't set in stone. And a lot of it is, it's hilarious, as sad as it is it's funny, right? So, finding those topics, and I'm sure we'll add more as we go, and just picking them apart and roasting them basically.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And just give you guys an idea. I mean, if you pick any mainstream thing that's going on right now, college, it's a huge topic. It's everyone's got to go to college. It's, without college, you're going to be a loser and you won't be successful. But yet there's so much going on that, where kids are in debt and they've pushed this and they graduate from college and they still don't know jack shit about whatever it is that they were supposed to be studying for, but yet they have $100,000, $200,000 in debt. So it's talking about funny stuff like that, society says you have to, but yet they almost blackball those people that don't go. For what reason? It goes back to, like you said, the 3-year-old in me would say, well, why? And I want an answer. I want a legit answer. So it's a topic like that I want to explore, find the stats on it, find who does what. And yeah, there's the success ratio. Everyone's going to sell their crap and say, well, yeah, college people do this and college people, have this much more success. But like, okay, let's examine that and let's see what people are doing. Okay, you went to college. You actually use your degree. I'm sure there's some stat out there that shows, okay, I went to school for telecommunications. There's a freaking great degree. And now I'm a landscape engineer. Like, how do those correlate? Like, I spent $80,000 at a state school and I got what? I got a piece of paper that now I chase lawnmowers and I put in, nice landscapes and beds, and okay, I partied for 4 years. So those are the things that I look forward to in these conversations to really break down and talk about.
Yeah. And so you mentioned too, like the studies and statistics, right? This isn't going to be just some random, thing. We have our opinions and stuff and we're going to express them. But, a lot of this stuff, like we're going to bring up the stats, we're going to bring up the studies. And, break apart all different aspects of it and show, arguments for both sides, and really just kind of peel back the layers and figure out what's what. Because that's how we make informed decisions, right? About our life,
that's
taking ownership of it, right?
That's
Like,
a great point. Do we make informed decisions? I don't think anyone makes any informed decisions. We listen to Becky or Billy or Bobby, and however they make us feel, we think, okay, well then I should probably just do what they're doing because I don't want to upset the norm. And I think that's half of the bullshit that we put up with is, rather than rock the boat, let's just keep it steady and I'll go with the flow. But yet while we're in the middle of it, we're thinking, this is so dumb, I don't want to do this.
well, we come across it all the time. I mean, how many times have you spoken up about something and somebody in the background's like, man, I'm glad you said that, like, because that's how I felt. But I was just kind of going along with things, right? Like, they were just going and going. They would have gone along with whatever it was unless somebody else spoke up. And, you're right. Like, so much of the time, like, we only get half of even the story that we're living by. We only get half that story.
Oh yeah.
Like, we're not doing the research. We're watching, we'll talk about the news, right? And like the biasness of the news and stuff like that. And how, like, if you're only watching one type of news channel, you're only getting half the story.
Yep.
Right. And it's biased towards their narrative, right? And you just go with it because it's the easy thing to do. Or, your friends will talk about, I break down society into macro and micro, and your micro is like the 5 people that you hang around with, stuff like that. And so, like, the people that you're close to, you don't want to upset, right? A lot of people are so much more concerned about hurting feelings and making sure that they're fitting in right, and not going against the grain. And it's not really how they feel or think, or they don't really know because they just go with it. They just accept whatever is. How many, I can't tell you how many times you ever get on Facebook and you see something that's just cycling through, and there's no truth to it, but it's just somebody's friend posted it, and so they're sharing it. And then it's like, oh, well, my friend shared it, so it must be true, so I'm going to share it. And then it just keeps going and going and going. And then finally it's just like, no, that's not even the right story. Like, that picture isn't even from the same article. Like, it's just some like twisted thing. It's
well, and that's part of the fun that we're going to have here is Facebook, social media. Talk about a facade of bullshit. You see these, I'll hop on there and take a look, and you see a family photo from someone's, party or event or communion or wedding, and they're all together and they're all happy, and oh my God, they look amazing. They're all dressed up, but behind the scenes, the husband and wife hate each other. The kids are little derelicts, but if you were the lay person opening up, you think, wow, what a wholesome looking family. And they portrayed it on their Facebook or Instagram page like we are the perfect family, and they're not, and they know they're not, but they're trying to put on some facade. And for who? For what? I mean, social media has become this who's who. Look how great I am. I dare the person to put on the bad. Show how real you really are. Like, hey, we're struggling right now. We fight like cats and dogs as husband and wife. Or, I got a kid that's a pain in my ass, and he's always in trouble, and he's this, that, and the other thing. Like, who else is going through this, and what do you recommend? Well, I can't say that, because people might think, oof. And that's what I hope to call out here is the stupidity of our fear, and find humor in it, because that's pretty much what I do about everything is try and find the humor. But it's really looking at, what are we so freaking nervous about? Why can't we show off who we really want to be? And you brought up, I'll let you talk there. You brought up a great point of, there's always the guy in the room that's willing to say it. I've always been that guy. Sometimes I say things where it comes out and I think the whole room's behind me. Like, yeah, they were just waiting for him to say it. And nope, I'm the asshole. I was the only one thinking that. And sure enough, they'll show me through their sneers and looks. But I would say 80% of the time they're looking there later on going, thank God you said that, T. I wanted to say it, but like, well, then frickin' say it. But we're so worried about disrupting the apple cart that we keep our mouth shut and go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, and even so, right? Like, even if 100% of the room disagrees with you, and you said it perfectly, right? Like, the fear of judgment has kept us trapped in these boxes. And so that's the flow, right? And so we get trapped in this box, and we live with this fear of judgment. And so we start to stand up for ourselves less and less.
Yep.
And who cares if 100% of the room didn't agree with you? Like, who cares?
Yep.
Right? If you had something to say it. Maybe nobody else agreed with you. Maybe it sparked a thought. Maybe, who cares, right? It's about being, right? I talk about ownership a lot, owning your life, right? And that's owning your life, right? Like, that's just speaking your truth, being authentic, not worrying about who's gonna, because most of the time people end up at least respecting that.
Sure.
And you said the whole social media thing. You know how many times, because I don't do it a lot, I get caught up in the whole highlight reel of Facebook sometimes too, because of all the shit that I do. But I've noticed what's funny is that when people do post that real stuff, it hits.
Yeah.
People love it.
Yeah.
Because it's finally relatable.
Yep.
It lets their guard down a little bit. And so, like, that's the funny part. It's just that we get caught in that mindset so much of having to fit in, of doing the highlight reel, when this whole time we feel totally different. And when somebody finally does something outside of the box, we're like relieved. And we have glimpses of that. I know people have glimpses of that. So why don't we just do that? Like, why do we stuff ourselves in a box, and then we finally get out of that box and we're just like, oh, hey, look at that box over there.
Right.
It looks so much more comfortable.
Right.
I'm going to jump in that one. And it's just like, we have glimpses of light, and then we just hop right, because it's that comfortableness, right? And so we talk about the uncomfortable things. We have the conversations that people aren't ready or willing to have,
Yep.
and just destroy them.
Well, I think that's you're nailing it here. And I think that's my goal of having these conversations, and I can't wait to see the input from other people, is we are more worried about the opinions of others than we are the facts inside our own head. We know our lifestyle. We know what we want out of life. We know whatever, but I think we find ourselves holding back with the fear, and we're going to use that word a ton, the fear of what someone else is going to say. And at the end of the day, who gives a shit what they're going to say? And I think that's the part I'm going to profess all day long about this. Does it really matter? And my wife will tell you flat out, it's probably the one thing I say all the time. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if I'm standing in the emergency room because I just got hit by a car, who's standing at my side? My neighbors? The lady I worried about at work, my buddy that I coached with, or like, no.
Probably the EMTs.
Yeah. No, well, besides them and the doctors, but it's going to be my wife, my kids, and possibly my parents. So
right.
Outside of that circle, like, why am I putting so much emphasis on these random people for whatever reason on something stupid that I may choose to do? Or in my mind, I think it's brilliant, but they just don't have the understanding or the background to know how brilliant it really is.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the family too, because that's another topic that we're going to get into, is like the whole family dynamics and stuff. And even so, we have these conversations, and on a certain level, how much am I obligated to certain parts of my family, right? Like, we'll talk about the parent dynamic and how so many people get stuck in, and this is like a cultural thing too, where we get stuck in this, like, well, mom and dad raised me this way.
Yep.
They did XYZ. They taught me this. I have to do, right? And you see it all the time with the people that are like, I have to become a doctor because my parents want me to become a doctor, right? And so they bust ass their whole life to become a doctor. They end up miserable.
Yep.
But it makes mom and dad proud. They spend their whole life doing that, right? And so, talking about stuff like that and breaking that apart and, putting eyes on it and just expressing that, like, why? Right?
Because society said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because culture said, society said, parents said. That was a big thing for me growing up. Is just like I asked that why question a lot because I said so. That's just how it is. That's how families are. That's how that was a big one. Like, that's what families are supposed to do. That's how families are. And then I grow up and it's just like I have my own family and it's like that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Right. Like, well, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah. That's that traditional, and we'll air quote with traditional, of this is how it used to be. And sometimes the old way was good. There was a lot of respect and this is how you did things, but society has changed. There are things that go on that has, like you said, I moved out long ago and I like my family, my immediate family. And when I don't go do things with my external family, they get upset. Well, I get it. We want to spend time together. We want to do things together, but there's other things that are going on with our lives where it's like, I'm not doing this against you. I'm not missing out on family things because I don't like you. I just have shit going on. So it's, and then I brought up this thought as you were just saying that too. And it's family. And here's a big one. And this is where we're going to get into a lot of these topics: religion.
Yep.
Because family pushes religion. And if you don't do this and you don't do that, well, oh my God, the life's going to come to an end. And I can't believe you stepped outside of who we are as a family because this is our religion and this is this. And we have to do all these things. And you're like, oh God, here we go. I've made my choices. Accept my choice. If you don't accept it, I'm sorry. That's your problem, not mine. So religion will be a big one. We'll come back to that one because I can go off on a million tangents with that.
Religion, politics, all the hot topics.
Oh yeah.
And again, this I love how this just always goes into the next thing, because you talked about, basically you talked about people taking things personally, and coming to the realization that like that's not my responsibility. When I live my life and I'm authentic to myself, you getting offended by it or getting upset or angry, and it doesn't even really affect you. It's just how I'm living my life.
Sure.
Right? Like that's not my responsibility. And we get caught up in that, where we think like, oh no, I hurt somebody's feelings, or oh no, I stepped out of the box and it made somebody uncomfortable, or oh my God, I offended somebody, whatever, just by being my authentic true self or asking questions or, doing something. It's just like,
yeah.
But
no, I'm with you. That's
why.
Somehow, somewhere in life, our life, it's been taught to us to worry about what other people think. Whether it was a prescribed sit down, let me tell you what life is session with your parents, which I doubt many people said, I want you to worry what your neighbor says and what your, teachers say and all that. We've had this respect of, or we were taught respect to, respect your elders and respect this and do all these things. But I don't know that anyone's ever actually said you need to listen to their words. And if they don't like what you're doing, then you need to listen to them. I don't know that that's a proper education from anyone. It's like you said, if you have a path you're following, why would people be offended? As long as you're not influencing their path in a negative way directly, well, then what the frick do they care?
Well, what's funny is because like, this is something that I talk about outside of stuff like this, but most in society, right? And we'll talk about the micro side of society. If you look at your circle, the people that don't want, it's not that they don't want you to grow or get outside of the box or whatever, but they don't want you to leave them.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And so that's why they're getting upset most of the time. That's why they're getting offended. Like they don't want to break the story, the cycle that they've created, so ingrained in their way of life so much. And so they get uncomfortable, they get offended, they get upset, they get angry, they get, whatever, they call you out and all that stuff. Right. And it's just, I think it's like that wolf pack mentality, right? Like we, they say that like we are a pack type of, creature,
right?
We need other people. Right. And I think it's like some kind of subconscious thing where we're just like, always going back to this, we need to fit in somewhere. And what most people do is they find the easy way to fit in instead of the true way to fit in. Because like I had to go through that process. I would just do anything and everything to fit into the circles that I was trying to get into, right? Like that whole chameleon thing, it was an act. It was a lot of effort. There was a lot of animosity built and resentments and all that stuff. And, it's that whole like tribe thing, where people don't think that there is a tribe that is like them, so they find the tribe that they can easily fit into, and that comes with the social norms. That comes.
But
with
do they
the
knowingly find that tribe, or they get sucked in and become that tribe?
Well, you become the tribe when you hang out with the tribe.
Sure.
You become like if I went to any tribe right now and I spent 3 years there, I'm going to become a member of that tribe, right? I'm going to embrace their culture and all that stuff, right? Yep. Like that's just how it works.
Yep.
And so it works just like that in regular society. And so whether you are that type of person or not, you will become that type of person.
Yep.
And and it goes back to that whole media thing, right? Like once you get into this habit of only seeing that narrative, that side of the story, right? Like that just becomes your way of life, and you don't start thinking outside the box anymore because everything's already. It's like that unwritten manual, right? Like when you're a certain political party, or when you're a certain religion, or when you're from a certain culture, or when you're from a certain group of friends or whatever, like that just becomes the way,
Right.
and you don't question it anymore because it's just all laid out for you by the people before you. And it's that you said it, that's just how it's been. That's
Right.
how it's always been. And like, that's great. We can learn from how it's always been. But if we're not constantly questioning things and asking new questions and asking why and trying to, figure new things out, like we're never going to progress and get better or happier or healthier or friendlier or create new tribes or any of that stuff, right? Like we're never going to have, it's just, I don't know, to me, that's kind of boring and lame to just get by, right?
Well,
it's that whole like survival thing. It's just like, I'm just going to get by until I die.
and I
like
think that's part of it though. And this is, I think everyone needs to understand you're talking to two guys that pretty much wake up and say, okay, what can I do today that upsets the norm? And it's not an active or a priority to upset the norm. It's more or less just, okay, if there's something that they say, okay, it's black and it's white, we're going straight to gray immediately. We're going to mix the two and we're going to figure things out. So we've had a different mindset. And I've probably had this since birth. My parents will tell you, I've always been the devil's advocate. I've always been the one that said why. But going to that, I think, thinking of all scientific terms, and I have Tony Robbins in my head with reticular activating system.
Yes.
I think a lot of people live in this same world of the walls are up and all they see is the colors that they see. So when they go out in society, they don't see other things. There's a whole rainbow of life. Rainbow, we're going to get into a whole discussion with all that crap. That'll be another topic. But the idea here is that the way I think is I'm always trying to look outside the world and say, well, why is this? And I'm curious, where most people just accept, but they only accept inside their own internal walls of, well, this is just the way it is. And if it's not this, then it's wrong. Like I can think of family members, and we'll get into deep conversation about certain family members, but I'll leave names and associations out right now.
Yeah.
But there are family members that try to influence at all times as to how I'm supposed to live my life, and yet are super negative on what I've done. But I think I've done pretty well, and I live a pretty happy-go-lucky life. But somehow, some way, any conversation I have with them, I could tell they're looking down their nose at me like, I can't believe that's what you said, or I can't believe that's how you raised your kids, or I can't believe, like, what is it that you can't believe? Because if I flipped it back on you, which I would never do because I don't care, I can't believe you're a hermit, and I can't believe you're not willing to dare the norm, and I can't believe you're not willing to get out and test the waters. Like, we can go both ways, but I think at the end of the day, when I slide into that casket, I'm going to say, yeah, I pretty much spent everything I could do to enjoy every part of it without regret. And that's the part I think too will be a part of this, is to say the culmination or discussion of what we're trying to achieve here is just don't accept. Step out, see what's different. Don't try to fit in, try and fit out. Be the person that whatever infinite being said, hey, I'm going to give you something special. Now go out and show the world what that special is. Don't friggin' conform to some bullshit that society says you're supposed to. And that'll be the fun of these conversations, because we'll call each other out. Because we do all the time and call each other out on our bullshit. And there's things that I'll say that John, I can tell he may not say it, but the head turns like a puppy. But that's the goal, is to really have a conversation and go, why? And we'll probably come up with, you know what? I don't know why. And at that point we should go, well, let's really roast the shit out of this now, because we're just following a lemming going off of a cliff, because it doesn't make sense.
Yes, all the way. Yes. And it's funny because I wake up like, what can I do today that's different? And most of the time you talk about that gray area, and I sit here and I think, and I'm like, I've called people out and said things just to explore the topic.
Sure.
Right? Like I'll play devil's advocate against something that I believe, right? Like we could totally agree on something that you say, and I'll just be like, well, what if? Like,
Right.
what about?
Right.
Why? And like, because I'm all about challenging my current belief systems. Because here's the cool thing, right? When you start doing that, if you challenge your own beliefs, your own stories, and you really take a deep look at it, and it helps when you bring up things that I agree with, because I can see it from an external view, a whole different perspective. But when I start doing that, if my beliefs hold up after that, then they're firm, they're
Sure.
strong. And if not, I get to develop new ones.
Yep.
And I get to have fun doing it, right?
Yep.
Because like I love sitting here and just exploring things and saying, you know what? I do agree with it, but now that you're saying it, I don't. So we're gonna
Right.
it's that whole rebellious thing. It's not even that, but it's just, sitting here and asking the questions, and it's almost like looking at somebody else, myself, and then, breaking things down and taking a deep dive into it. But, I love going against the grain. I love going against the norm. I love trying to, destroy stories, to write new stories. And none of it is malicious, right? In
Yep.
the offensive way. Like none of what we do is intentionally hurtful or, upsetting or angry. Like we don't do it out of anger. We literally do it out of the love of life and the love of what life has to provide and offer us that we don't know about yet.
Yep.
And being able to explore all that stuff is just, it's an amazing experience and stuff like that. And it's fun. It keeps us hopefully young. I like to, think that it keeps us childlike, and those are the people that have the most fun in my experience, right? The people that, that are joyous and, ask a lot of questions and explore a lot of new things and have fun with life and stuff like that. And just like, I can't tell you how many times I've been called crazy. I just got called crazy, 38 minutes ago.
Oh yeah.
And I get more out of being called crazy and weird and out of the norm than anything else, right? Like that's
But listen, and that's the part that I want everyone to understand here. We're two individuals that thrive off of being different. Are we different? If you looked at us on the street, we're no different than anyone else. But our mentalities are different. We've also trained our mentalities through books and seminars and all the other things to understand what it means to live a carefree, and carefree is probably the wrong word, but a determined life. We're good with that. We are probably the small percentage of people that can wake up and say, all right, I got $3 to my name. I got, my car's broken down and my kids are pissed at me and blah, blah, blah. And yet we're still going to be a good day.
Let's go.
What can we do today? And we've made successes from that where it's like, okay, I have two options here. I can sulk and I can lay in bed and I can be pissed, or I can make the best of it. And again, I take that back to that's what I was just looking up here. I have led my entire life off of a book, one quote from a gentleman named Tom Hopkins. It was my first sales job ever, working for Pitney Bowes selling mail machines. Wasn't a bad job, great people, but I was selling a mail machine. But someone handed me a book by Tom Hopkins. He's a sales guru guy, and he had a suggestion or a way of not worrying about sales. And his statement was, don't take advice from anyone more messed up than you are. Now, I paraphrase that, and I've changed mine to don't take advice from anyone more fucked up than you are. And really what that means is the way I can turn my head off to people's opinions is whoever's handing me this information or judging or criticizing or giving, I look at them and I think to myself, and I don't judge back, hold on a second. If I could switch positions with that person today, would I want what they have? Would I want to be the person they are? Would I want to live in the mindset they are? And 99 out of 100 times, the answer is no. Like, so why am I so worried about what they're saying? Like, what is it that what's their expertise or their overall understanding or love for life or joy to wake up and just go out and kill it? If they don't have that, I just hear Charlie Brown's teacher, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, thank you. and I thank them for their opinion, and I move on. And so I'm throwing Tom Hopkins a big hell yeah, because it popped in my head. I should give him credit because I didn't come up with the saying that I don't worry. I don't care. Road rage. You want to yell at me? Dude, you must be having a bad day. I will wave and smile. Sorry I cut you off, or sorry, whatever. Whatever's in your mind, be angry. It's good. I'm good to go. I don't really give a shit that you're angry. Have a good day.
Pre-gym or post-gym?
Both. Yeah. Yeah.
Like pre-workout or post-workout?
Yeah.
I'll yell back.
Yeah. It's this. We're going to have fun with this stuff because as we talk, and we'll go through this too, ADHD and ADD, I am just, if you put the poster out for ADHD, my mind has gone 400 different directions of unbelievably fun topics that will be great to discuss. ADHD being one of them, and parenting and shoving your kids full of fucking pills.
Yes.
And all the stuff that goes on. Well, let's dumb them down because we don't want to be parents and we don't want to discipline. But it's stuff like that I'm like, wow, we are going to get into it. Man, I look forward to the comments and your input, whether it's good or bad, or tell us we're morons. I don't care. Because as you know, we don't care, but we do. We want to hear what you're saying so that we have more fodder for each one of these discussions. And I mean, it's endless. I'm literally thinking of how much fun. And this is just the first one. This is the inaugural, holy crap, this is the life roast. There's so much to talk about in life that we're going to roast.
So much to talk about. There is. And we already, like I said, we already have a list of topics. And you know what? There is a part of me that does care what people think. And it's the part that makes sure that I am trying to leave a lasting, positive influence out in the world, right? Making sure that my positive energy is being put out somewhere and being felt, right? So it's not that I don't care at all. It's just that I only care about being a positive force in the world. And so if there's some negative shit, I really just don't care.
Right.
You know, that's the stuff I don't care about. Like if it's not productive, if it's not positive, if it's not benefiting my personal development, my growth, my spirituality, then yeah, no, I really don't care.
Right.
You know, so like that goes with what he was saying, is just that, you know, I always like hearing back, like feedback, good and bad, because one, I like laughing off the bad and, you know, having fun with haters and stuff, but I also like to hear the good so that we know what is reaching out, what is touching, what is, you know, what we can expand on more, what topics we can address, what certain things that, you know, people might have conflicts with, that we can add to the list of different things to talk about. Because, you know, just talking to friends and family and people, like they're just, like you said, endless topics. It's all fun. I love doing this. It's just a good time.
Yeah, another one just popped in my head. Don't know why. ADHD again, popping in. Hair. John's got a hat on.
I do have a hat on.
We are both violently challenged, as you can tell. But man, it's hilarious when you think of how people are so stuck on their hair. Dude, guys, especially ladies, you're beautiful, you look great, and you grow your hair out, and it's awesome. But fellas, there's some of you are literally brushing 6 whispers over the top of your head, and you think, and that's the hilarious part, you think it looks fantastic, and it looks horrendous. But
it's holding on to that ego, man.
Right, it's that fear. And I will tell you, if there was a miracle drug, that made hair grow, I wouldn't take it, because this is the easiest damn hairstyle in the world.
Oh my God.
I shave my head every other day in the shower. It takes me 2 minutes. I swim faster. I run faster. I don't have bedhead. I mean, obviously I'm joking, but the ease of this. And yet I watch fellas, for whatever reason, not willing to, and we call it facing it. I have a couple buddies where I said it's time to face it, which meant it's time to cut off those 9 hairs you've been calling your coiffure. Just get rid of it. Own it. Own you. Own the position. Like, shave it off. Those 9 hairs will grow back if you don't like it. You know,
right? Yeah, there you go.
It's literal things like that I want to bring up and have discussions about. And
it's so relatable, man. Like, my wife just got a haircut recently, and she was so worried about like what everybody was going to think because it was shorter than normal. And I'm like, what? Who fucking cares? Right. First of all, it's gonna grow back. Exactly. Mine won't grow back though. Mine's done. It's over with. Like, I shaved my head one time and it just stayed like that.
Yep. And
now I get that little like clown bald thing if my hair starts growing in too much, like it's super thin on the side. But like, whatever. who cares? I don't wear a hat just because of that. It's just a comfort thing, man.
No, I'm with you.
Calling out
And
my
it's
hat.
not even a matter of
But
hiding it. I'm with you.
it's I really don't care. I'm bald. I actually started to embrace it because it was cool, because that's when I was going through like this whole spiritual thing, and I'm like, oh, bald. I can start letting go of my ego a little bit. No, right? It was totally not normal because I used to have long hair. Anyways,
those are the topics. We will spin things and bring things up, and sometimes you'll listen and think these two are idiots, and other times you'll relate almost to a level where you think we're in your head, and you're like, wow, I've been trying to answer that question for a while now, and it's somehow these guys are talking directly to me because we've lived it, and I think that's the part of it. There's a saying that I use in coaching that what I do with some of my clients, and I think again to separate us from the norm is I think a lot of people are what my term comfortably uncomfortable, meaning they are uncomfortable, but they're not willing to change because change is rough. Whereas we've flipped the script on that, and I am uncomfortably comfortable, meaning I just love being uncomfortable. Like it brings change, it brings thought, it brings like, who did I piss off today? Not because it's my goal. It's my question of what was it that I did, and I want to learn from it. And I want to, maybe I do need to tailor my delivery, because the goal wasn't to piss off. The goal was to express a message, but the delivery sucked. Okay. Well, I need to learn from that, but I like it. Like I'm a little uncomfortable that there's 9 people around me looking like I'm an idiot, but I'm thriving off of it. Like, okay, maybe they didn't get the message, but they got the point. But maybe I can tailor it better. And it's this constant evolution of who is T and how do I make me better? Well, not really giving a shit to a level. I think we're going to have some levels here of the not give a shit. I'm not so cold that I don't understand feelings.
Yeah.
My wife would say I'm emotionless sometimes, but I don't think it's in a lack of emotion. It's a lack of putting emphasis on probably someone else's weird feelings, that if at the end of the day, 2 weeks from now, they'll look back and think, boy, I was stupid for worrying about that. T was right. And sometimes I'm wrong, but guess what? I'll learn from that.
There's a part of me that likes being wrong. I like being wrong. It's a weird thing. People say it's weird, but like, I like putting my opinion out there,
right,
and then finding out I'm wrong.
Sure.
It's, but I totally agree. Like, cause there are times like behind closed doors, I'll be called a dick. Like, dude, that was kind of rough. Like, you didn't really have to say it like that. And I think about it because it's like my first initial reaction is like, well, I don't care, because I got my message across. But there are times where I need to hear that because it did come across really rough, and I don't want to be just a total asshat. Like, I don't want to be that guy that nobody wants to be around because I'm just rough around the edges and stuff. I'm just being authentic. I'm just being true. And so it just goes back to the whole, like, none of this is from anger or malicious or offensive or whatever. I just, I get caught up in that sometimes where I'm just like, I really don't care. Hopefully they heard it how it sounded. But, and other times, because some people are dense.
Well, I mean, we will uncover those personalities. I mean, I can think of one now, and again, we'll leave names and things, but there are coaches. My kids' coaches. There are certain coaches that this is who they are, and this is how they live, and they're my kid's coach. It is what it is. I'm not coaching them. Who am I to judge how he coaches? Yeah, I can have my own personal opinions, but I can't march out on the field and say, hey, I don't really like how you did that. If I wanted to do that, then I can coach. So I let it go. Like, okay, my son's playing in whatever position he put him in. That's where he put him. But man, when I love listening to the other parents, like, I can't believe my kid is this, and I can't believe, well, then make a difference. Well, I'm going to say something. No. You didn't sign up to be the coach. They did. You allowed it to happen. So you can voice your opinion all day long. I'm sorry. Sign up to coach. Otherwise, shut up. Watch your boy play. Watch your daughter play. And if they're not playing the position you want, work with them at home.
Dude, I was just going to say that. Like, that's on the field, off the field type stuff that we talk about. It's like, what about this can you do? Right? Like, maybe the coach because we're parents. I have kids.
Sure.
I see the best in my kids sometimes. I'm like, well, my kid's been putting in this work and stuff. It's like, well, maybe the coach didn't see that. Maybe work harder. Maybe practice with them more. Maybe if they showed them that they can play pitcher or showed them that they can play shortstop or center or whatever it was, like maybe they'd get that position. Until then,
sure,
he's the coach.
Sure.
He makes the decisions. He's the one that's on the field. You're not. You're in the stands. If you want to make a difference, find a way to make a difference without just sitting there on the sidelines screaming at the person that's trying to play and focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, more topics there just on sports. Man, we're going to have a fun one with that, with the trophies and the bullshit that goes on and snack. And, these kids are 10 years old and they need a snack halfway through their game. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And, let's give them a trophy. That one's we're going to have a field day.
I think that's
trophies.
Next. Yeah. Participation trophy mindset. And all
the nonsense that goes, or the parents that are on the sideline screaming at a 14-year-old umpire because he's out there making, the $18 to watch their kid play peewee or t-ball or whatever it is, and they're ripping the kid. This is 6-year-old t-ball, and you're yelling at a young man that's trying to learn how to be an umpire. Because why? Because your kid got thrown out at first, and when he was safe, but you wanted to make sure that everyone knew your authority. Like, oh please,
dude, that's that story thing. That's like you only see half the story, right? It's like most people are sitting on the sidelines; they can't even see the strike zone. And they're like, that wasn't a strike. That wasn't a ball. Right? It's just like, you're not even behind. You can't even see the strike zone. You can't even see the box right now. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, why are you sitting here screaming, getting worked up about something? You're only seeing half of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's just like so many tangent. Jeez. Where this is the direction that a lot of these conversations are going to go. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
No.
What are we doing?
Tell me your worst day on the baseball field when you got thrown out at first, or tell me the one time where your mom lost her shit in the stands because you got thrown out at first. I bet you I remember the time my mom got nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than, I can't tell you how many times I got thrown out at first or home plate or whether I didn't catch the throw or whatever it may have been. Who knows? But this is the part of the fun we're going to have with calling out the stupidity. We put way too much emphasis on some things that really have no value, and we don't put enough emphasis on things that should be valuable. And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, and one of the famous questions is, how's that working out for you? Hey, you living like this? Cool. Like you said it, like, I don't take advice from people more fucked up than me. Well, how's that working out for you? Right? How is that working out for you? How's that mindset working out for you? How's that practice working out for you? Right? How is screaming in the stands working out for you? How's having that? How are you living? Right? Is that really the way you want to be living? Is that really what you want to be doing? Is that really how you want to spend the rest of your time? The connection that you're making with your kids, your family, the people around you, the world, right? Your jobs, where we'll talk about jobs in college, and school, and private and public, and all sorts of different things. Like, how's that working out for you? How's that? That's how it's always been working out for you. Or, that's just how I am. How's that working out for you?
Yep.
Yep. How's that? Like, how's it working? Because if it was working out pretty well, we'd have a lot more smiles and laughter and good stuff.
So I think a big part of this will be just open discussion. We'll start with a topic. We'll probably meander off into different topics, try and bring it back. We'll show some stats on the computer, on the screen there, if we can figure out the whole technical side. John's the technical guy. I'm more of a mouth. But that's the idea. You'll get to know us. You'll get to know our personalities. You'll love us some weeks and you'll hate us other weeks, just based on, what we say or how we say it. The big part is we want you to be a part of this. We want you to give us suggestions. We want you to throw your 2 cents in. Maybe we forgot to talk about a certain topic, as we're talking about participation trophies. Well, you tell us what you think. Even if it's good, if you think every kid needs a trophy, that's totally fine. We want to hear from you. The comments should be lit up on this. This is about conversation, and it's about exposing kind of all the thoughts and whatever topic we talk about. But I can't stress this enough. This is about fun, poking some fun at it. And really, at the end of the day, the goal here is to make you question why. Why do you get caught up in this? Because really, this will lead into a better, if I wake up today, what is my goal today? Is my goal to rip a 14-year-old because he missed the call at first base? or is my goal to show my child that, you know, they gave their biggest effort, or that I found a coworker doing something phenomenal and I did speak up and recognize them? Or is it, you know, I went out of my way for someone? Is it living a deliberate life or an average life that I fall into the norm? So, you know, that's our goal. Call it out. Make you see it, make it spin around your head, that when we're done talking about it, rather than getting pissed at us, you just question your own life and go, yeah, why do I do some of these stupid things? Or why don't I find a better way to look at things? Why do I jump to judgment? You know, do I live in their shoes? If you don't, well, then that's kind of the idea here, is look at it differently. Look at what else, you know, why does that happen? Why is going to be our word of the, you know, it's the term of the every minute we're having conversations.
I've asked that question like 3 million times.
Yeah,
a lot of the time for the same things, because I forget I asked it already. But
yeah, so I think that's it. Let's end on a high note, in that that's our goal here, is have fun, call out some stupid things in life. Weddings, such a stupid thing. We'll get into that. Not the wedding
not
itself.
weddings as a whole. Yeah, weddings aren't stupid.
It's the fact that we spend $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 to get our friends drunk for 4 hours. But we'll get into that topic as a whole. But that's our goal here. Let's have some fun. Let's goof off. Let's get the input from you guys, and we'll bring some of you in on special visits.
Yes.
But it's going to happen here at the Mullet. We'll talk more about the Mullet and what goes on here and how we do it. But
wonderful things.
Looking forward to all this fun with you, John, and you know, can't wait to get this fired up. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, so if you're ready to continue this journey with us, just make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave some comments, let us know what you're thinking, and we will do our best to get to it and continue on all these conversations that are have some fun.
That's it. See you guys.
Cool.